Hello, and welcome to our Ask the Accelerators Spreecast on pitching angel investors. We've got pitching coach Nathan Gold and founding CEO of Startup America Partnerships, Scott Case. Can you guys give a brief introduction of yourself?
Sure thing. Scott, after you.
Hey, I'm Scott Case. I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, was the founding CEO of the Startup America Partnership, and also the founding Chief Technology Officer of Priceline. And I'm a lifelong startup junkie, and I've both pitched angels and I've made some angel investments. So hopefully some of the ideas and tips and discussions we'll have today will be useful and helpful to the audience and the three unfortunate startups that get to pitch me and Nathan.
Great. And I'm Nathan Gold, Chief Coach at The Demo Coach out here in Fremont, California. And I spend my day teaching people how to captivate audiences all around the world so they can either win awards, raise money, or receive standing ovations. And I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs around the world in helping them either raise money or sign up customers. And when I'm not doing that, I'm working with executives doing the same thing, helping them communicate the value of what they do so that people take action. And I'm excited to be here today to see what we can do to help you. And for those of you who are not pitching today, I highly recommend that you listen carefully to the kind of coaching that we give to these people, because you can learn an awful lot by how other people are getting coached.
Sounds great. And I just want to mention that if you do want to ask a question either on camera or typing it, you can click the blue submit question button and we'll consider pulling you on. So before we get started with the entrepreneurs, I wanted to ask you, Nathan and Scott, just to give your best tips for pitching angel investors in particular. Nathan, we can start with you.
Okay, so thank you. I'll try to keep this as brief as possible because some of this is obvious. But the most important thing to me with angels is you need to understand that angels typically vote with their hearts. So in my book, I believe one of the most important things you can do with an angel investor, especially when you're getting to know them, is you need to capture their hearts. Worry about their minds later. And let me share three things that you can do to capture their hearts. Number one, you need a really compelling story that you can communicate in a very short period of time that communicates the value of the product or the service that you're providing and gets them engaged and gets them just listening to what you have to say. The best part of a story is people remember stories. And the other best part of stories is that people repeat those stories. As an example, I was with Adam Draper at Draper University last week, and I said, Adam, how many companies in 1 week will you go through to try to find the new cohort for this place? He says, oh, I can watch maybe 300 people present. I said, how many out of those do you remember? He says, maybe 3 or 4. Why? Because of the story. So stories are what will keep you in the forefront of the angel's mind. Second thing is you need to practice and rehearse that 1-minute pitch until it comes from the heart. You need to memorize it and get it to the point where when you say it just sounds so natural that, like when you get up on stage here with us, when you say it, you won't have to read it. You'll be able to actually just say it, and it'll come from the heart, it'll be believable, and people will get what you have to say. 1 point. People, typically the average speaker talks between 120 and 140 words per minute. That's about all you have, is about 120 words. So that's all you have to work with your scripting. And then the last tip, third, and I'll give it over to Scott, you need to be more likable. Angels invest in people they like. It's not about the product or the service. Venture capitalists do as well, but angels more than ever will not invest in you if they don't like you. That's it. Over to you, Scott.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So I'm gonna pile on a couple of things, but I'm gonna challenge one of Nathan's points, and I'll do that at the end,
Okay.
just to make it a little more interesting.
All right.
So first off, I couldn't agree more with Nathan's point about angels really being a personal relationship. This is something that's about, it's not a big portfolio. They typically have a few investments, and so the first thing I say, whether you're meeting somebody for the first time on the fly or you've gotten a scheduled appointment, is really understand who this angel investor is. What do they care about? And if you don't know, ask them. Before you start saying a word, ask them about things they like, things they care about. Not so much about investments, but get to know them as a person and let them get to know you as a person. You don't always have that luxury, but a lot of times you'll bump into an angel investor at an event, or you'll be introduced to one, and you might have a half an hour. Actually take the time with them to get to know them a little bit as a person, because this is a personal thing, and it's true for all kinds of investments, but it's particularly true in angels. So number one, really know your audience and have a relationship with them. The second thing, angels want to build something together with you. They want to know what kind of partner you are. So it's not just that they're making an investment, it's that they're creating a relationship. So it plays off the first piece, which is I want to build something together. And if you think, one way to think about that test is when that angel investor is asked, hey, I heard you had a meeting with Scott Case. What story do you want them to tell? So it plays on Nathan's point about having a story. What story do you want them to tell about you? And what kind of relationship is it? Hey, this is somebody that I want to build something together. So that's number two. They want to build something with you. How do they sort of tell that story? And then the last thing, I'm going to push back a little bit on Nathan's rehearsal point. I think angels in particular want to have a conversation with the entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I find to be challenging is when an entrepreneur is too well rehearsed, particularly when I'm one-on-one with them. I completely agree with Nathan when you're standing in front of an audience and maybe at a pitch day or a demo day. But if you and I are at a cocktail party together, I don't want to hear your canned pitch. I actually want you to have a conversation with me. And the subtlety there is an important one, but it also plays back to knowing your audience. I would rather see you ask me some questions and engage me and kind of introduce your pitch to me over the course of our dialogue, rather than have you hit me over the head with your highly rehearsed and practiced pitch. The one thing that I think Nathan and I would totally agree on in this, though, it's you really knowing your shit. Okay, you really have to be knowledgeable about what it is that you're doing and know a lot more than just your pitch, because they're going to ask you questions if you've intrigued them, and you need to be really on the top of your game.
Nathan, do you want to push back on that at all, or?
No, I don't at all. In fact, I just want to add that I didn't qualify the use of that 1 minute pitch is typically when I say script it, learn it, memorize it, tell it from the heart, is when you have, like Scott said, like today, they have 1 minute. After that, we're going to chop them off. So if you don't rehearse a 1 minute pitch, you'll either come up really short, which is not a good use of the minute if you're given a minute, or you'll run out of time very, very quickly. But Scott, I agree completely with you. The last thing I want anybody to do is go to an elevator pitch or a 1 minute pitch or anything rehearsed if they're meeting somebody one-on-one or to get personal with somebody. It should always be a conversation. So.
All right, sounds like we're in agreement, and hopefully the entrepreneurs were listening. We're going to bring on our first entrepreneur to pitch you guys and get some feedback, and we'll bring on Ryan Schenk.
All right. So Ryan, there'll be a clock.
Right. How you guys doing? Thanks for. I was just going to say thanks for having us today, representing DC and the Fishbowl Labs here. So.
Whenever you're ready.
All right. So there's a running clock.
I'll start here so I know when the minute is up. But go ahead.
All right, so the problem that we're solving is that most software solutions for small businesses, they suck. Businesses right now, they're either using pen and paper or they're using a combination of 3 to 4 different programs to manage their business. A typical business might use one program to track their jobs, another for scheduling, another for their CRM, and then another like FreshBooks for their invoices. It's slow, it's complicated, there's double and triple data entry, and it increases billing cycles. So our solution is mHelpDesk. mHelpDesk combines everything into one elegant solution, from work orders to scheduling to estimates and invoices, and finally mobile payments with Stripe. mHelpDesk with an all-in-one solution for small businesses to manage their operations. It's faster, it's easier, it's more affordable, and it works in the office and in the field with our mobile app. The market opportunity is massive. There's 5 million businesses, from plumbers and electricians to pest control and carpet cleaners. We've already established traction in the space with over 5,000 customers, and we continue to add 600 new customers every single month right now.
Okay, 58 seconds. Scott, would you like to start?
Yeah, so I'll let Nathan talk more about the pitch part and sort of the style piece. So I have 2 basic comments. I think one is I would have liked a specific story. I would have liked you to say, Billy Schmidlap is an electrician. Let me tell you about Billy. He's got this system and this system and this system and this system. He's entering stuff 3 times. His office manager's frustrated. He doesn't have one place to do it. And you know what? Billy Schmidlap is like 5 million other people that are out there like that. So I want to get a picture in my head of who this person is that is suffering the consequences that you described. And you were very clinical about it. So I didn't get that emotional piece. The second piece is we're talking about angel investors here. So I think part of what you need to do is to talk to me about the business opportunity. Okay, so why would I want to invest in this? Right? So what? There's 5 million of them. You said it was cheaper for them. Does that mean you're going to make any money? You didn't talk about how you make money. You didn't talk about what the benefit to the investor was or what the ask is. So, hey, we're trying to raise X amount of dollars to take it from 5,000 customers to 500,000 customers. Okay, and I know it's hard to pack it all in, but if you do the storytelling part right, you actually can get all the stuff that you said in the first 40 seconds into a story in probably 30 that captures my mind, imagination, and then get into the business part about why I might be interested in investing to you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Great stuff. Okay, Ryan, so I like your voice very much. I would like you to even show more enthusiasm when it comes to pitching what you're all about there. I'm just curious, were you reading it, or did that just come from your mind? Doesn't matter. This is a lot.
Yeah, I wasn't reading it, but it is well scripted. We had to present it for some couple things, so it is rehearsed.
So I, Scott's right onto it. The first thing I wrote down is, where's the story here? And it was, a lot of stuff that somebody probably said, these are the 7 things you need to get in a 1-minute pitch, and it's a great place to start. But the story, as Scott says, is exactly what's missing here and can help people stay in tune with what you're saying, because if you're just giving bullet items out, you're missing all of the opportunity to live in the mind of the person you're presenting to. So I thought it was a little bit fast. Your rate of speed, I bet there, if we went back and counted, was closer to 150 words per minute. Now, the good news is most people can hear faster than most people speak. So not too fast, but I would vary the speed a little bit. Have fun with it. And then the other thing is, I think you don't have to answer this right now, but I believe one of the most important things you need to communicate, especially with 5,000 customers, you have some traction, you're building momentum. So why are they using it? What's really unique and different and maybe brand new here? Because from what you were describing up at the beginning, people have done this and are doing this, right? So you're not the first kid on the block to do whatever you're doing. Is that safe to say?
There's a lot of programs that are very narrow. So there's like scheduling programs or there's invoicing programs, but ours is kind of like taking it all, and none of those current programs talk to each other. So we wanted to kind of create something, and we are one of the first people to create something that actually integrates and communicates between the different programs so that they don't have to wait for the field text to come back in and enter data. So it is innovative in combining all of the elements of narrow solutions into one solution.
And Podio doesn't do that?
Not for like work order scheduling and then extending the mobile apps to the small business.
You can't write an app and stick it into Podio to do those things?
I suppose you could.
So all I'm trying to do here for you.
I'm not that familiar with. I'm not that familiar. Oh yeah, I hear what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I'm just not that familiar with Podio.
So what I would like to leave you with is one major thought, and that is, rather, when you get a question like I just gave you, so what about Podio? They do all the things you've just described, basically, and if it doesn't, you go write an app and stick it in there, and now you have it. The point I just want to make is you don't have to necessarily answer a question directly, literally, clinically, like Scott said a moment ago. You ought to go back to what you're strong at, okay, and help us understand what's really unique and different here. And one of the best ways to do that is just quote one of your customers. Quote some of the things your customers have said. You say, hey, you can listen to me all day about why people are using the product, but let me share you 2 things that one of our customers told us yesterday. Well, boom. They've looked at Podio, and they said Podio didn't do it for them. So, okay, well, we believe them. Or something like that.
Okay.
Scott?
Yeah, I think my biggest comment is that when you get questions like that, first off, you should know the answer to that if they're related to your market. So you should understand enough about them to be able to say, as Nathan said, hey, I've already talked. Some of our customers have tried Podio, and they were dissatisfied. If for some reason you don't know and it's a curveball question at you, it's completely okay for you to acknowledge the fact that you don't know.
Yeah.
hey, you know what? I'm not actually familiar with that. That sounds really interesting. Thanks for bringing it up. I'm going to look more into it. But what I can tell you, and then layer on more about what it is that you have accomplished, right? So you don't have to take it as like, well, now I'm done because he doesn't think or she doesn't think I know what I'm talking about. You can play into a little bit because again, it's a relationship. And when I think about my role as an angel investor, I want people who can think on their feet. They're willing to accept when they've made a mistake or they don't know something. I hate it when people make stuff up, right?
Right.
I'd much rather have you say,
Right.
I'm just not familiar with it because I want to work with a partner here, not just somebody who is trying to appease me, right? Because that's not going to work.
Got it.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks
Okay.
for playing. Good luck with your business.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Ryan. All right, so we'll move on to our next entrepreneur, and that's Beena Shaw.
Hi, everyone.
Beenish, can you just introduce
Hey.
yourself briefly?
Sure, my name is Beena Shaw, and I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called Vicara New York. We are New York City based.
Good. All right,
Whenever you're
you want
ready.
to go forward with your pitch?
Sure, absolutely. So the problem that Vicara is solving is risk management and forecasting abilities for fashion designers and retailers. We spent 2 years working with an emerging fashion label in New York, and we actually watched and worked with them to see how what they suffered in terms of money, resources, business knowledge, and then they had to close their doors about 1.5 years ago. So we launched an e-commerce platform called Vicara New York for emerging designers to understand what the retailers were going through and why they weren't actually taking on the risk of emerging designers. And now from all of that learning, we're launching Vicara Labs, which is a crowdsourcing platform for designers, which they can put up one piece at a time for a 30-day period with a minimum number of pieces they have to produce. If they are able to crowdfund that minimum number of pieces, the item will be produced, and we, Vicara ourselves, will pay the factory from the amount raised, and then we will pay the designer once the product is actually delivered to the Vicara offices in order to ensure quality control and make sure that each individual customer is actually going to get the product that they paid for. That's our pitch.
1711. So that was 59 seconds. Scott, you want to
Okay.
go first?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go back to my comment to Ryan, which was it would be helpful to have a little bit more of a story. Tell me the names of the people, how their business failed, why it failed. I didn't get that. I also found the name of your company. I'm still not sure what it's called. It's probably The Connection, but that's something that is a signal for me. If I closed my eyes, I'm not sure I would have known what to Google to find out more about you. So can you spell the name of your
Sure,
company?
it's VICAIRE.
Okay. So I think you made a classic entrepreneurial, a little bit of an error, which is you didn't articulate kind of the I'll describe it as the problem. I understood what you're doing from a risk management standpoint, but I didn't feel like I really understood like enough about the problem itself. And you added a bunch of things into the mix. Like I got emerging designers later, which I didn't understand. And then that had me thinking about, well, who are those emerging designers? And is that their problem or is it the problem of the retailer? The retailer's problem? It just felt like there was a lot of stuff coming at me. And the specific mistake that you made is like, you're like 10 times too smart about what you're doing. So you need to spend some time with a bunch of stupid people who don't know anything about what you're doing and use words that they'll understand. Because unless you're talking to an angel investor who's an expert in your field, which is going to be pretty rare, you need to be able to speak in sort of colloquial terms in a way that someone is going to be able to understand it. And I actually understand the risk management. So I actually understood, I think, a lot about what you're doing, but I found myself having to work to figure that out. So while I was listening to you, I was trying to put the picture together in my head instead of you feeding the movie to me that I could then just say, I get it.
Okay.
Okay, so to just segue beautifully from that word movie, for everyone listening, I think what's happening in a lot of these cases is people are trying to get the movie into the minute. It's not possible. You need a movie trailer. So think movie trailer when you're coming together with this 1 minute or 30-second pitch. Pick out the bits of the movie, your business, your opportunity, that will get people to go to the movie, a la Come Talk to You, invite you in. Think movie trailer, because it's a wonderful analogy that will help you think about what to chop out. And believe me, I get it. When you're trying to take a 1-minute pitch and you have 6 minutes, now you have to cut 5 minutes worth out. To me, it's like throwing your babies overboard when you're on a lifeboat. If you don't throw somebody overboard, you're going to sink. So who do you pick? You just have to do it. It's hard. I get it, but really, it's just about the movie trailer. Okay, so a couple things for you, Benish. One is, you were so intent on getting the words out that there was no enthusiasm in your voice. I completely lost interest in what you were saying because all I was hearing was, like Scott said, just rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire. And that's not what this is about. This is about engagement. So you got to trim back what you're saying because your speech is a little bit too fast, although I understood every single thing you said. Not in context necessarily, but I understood all of your words. I would really rethink the story angle and how you can capture the mind of the listener. And here's what I believe is happening, not just to you, but to Ryan and others as well. We spend too much time on the what. And then people say, okay, well, I'm not talking about the what anymore. I'll tell them how, which is obviously the second level. You tell people how you do things, which is not good enough. What you really need to start thinking about is the why. Forget about the what and the how. Talk about why you're doing what you're doing. Every one of you start thinking more about why are you doing what you're doing, and you will automatically get to a story. Automatically. Because if you're not getting to a story when you ask yourself, so why do I get up in the morning and do this business every day? Why are we doing this product? Why are we doing this service? There's a human reason back there somewhere.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I can just pile on here, and again, a part of this is to give you constructive feedback. So, you know, I don't doubt that you've got something really interesting here, but it is about, and Nathan's point about a movie trailer is exactly right. If you watch, here's your homework assignment for everybody who's watching. Go watch 3 movie trailers for movies that you have not seen that have come out in the last 6 months. And only go after 60-second trailers. There'll be the TV ads that'll run. Just do a YouTube search. Think about what they pack in about the story. They tell you enough to hook you. They tell you enough of the story and the plot line to get you interested. They don't tell you so much that you don't want to go see the movie. There's a really, really great, powerful tool. It's a way of kind of constructing these things. But for you, just on the specifics, I also didn't hear how you make money. Wasn't clear to me. Are you a market maker? Do you take a percentage of the crowdfunding sale? You know, I didn't understand that as a listing fee. Is it how much risk do you take on? How is that? You know, I didn't get a sense of like that, and I also didn't get a market size sense. You know, hey, you know, big retailers bring on, you know, $100 million in new designers every season, but they really, you know, or they'd like to, but there's a high risk in it. Tell me just really quickly what those kinds of pieces are. Because again, as an angel investor, if I think it through the angel investor lens, I want to get a sense, is this worth another meeting? Right? I might like you, the business might sound interesting, but if it's small, if it's like, yeah, you know, there's 100 designers in New York, and maybe there's another 100 in 10 other cities that matter, but it's just not worth it. It's just not worth playing with, right? So that I think that's the key thing. And again, it tacks back to my point about assume that I don't know anything about it, even if I do, because if you reflect back to me in a way that you show you know in a simple way, then I'm going to know that you grasp the business and I'm willing to engage with you more.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Cool. Thank you.
So we're going to take a brief break from pitching and bring on a question that a viewer asked.
Okay.
So he's asking, how soon in my idea to product cycle should I wait before I contact an angel investor? What do you guys think? Who wants to go first?
The second you have the idea. Angel investors want to be your partners. Talk to them early. Don't engage them as an investor when you first engage them. Engage them as a part of your power fans in what it is that you're trying to do. And it's at the time when you're first come up with these ideas that you are defining the problem in a clear way, and they'll push on you to help you define the problem that makes it interesting for them. Yep. So get them early. I think a classic mistake that entrepreneurs make is that they spend too much time kind of heads down building something and not enough time out talking to and building a network around the business. So my answer is, the day you have the idea is the day that you should start socializing it with key people to become power fans of the idea, of which one is potential angel investors.
Yeah, I agree 100%. In fact, as you start doing that, the further in advance of the need for money that you build those relationships, the easier it will be to get the money when you actually need it. As Scott said, too many entrepreneurs go off in a cave, they do what they do, and then they come out with their full deck and they start hitting up all the angel networks and the angel forums and the angels, and then they get slapped down a lot. By getting friendly with these investors, just getting opinions from them, getting advice from them, just having an informational meeting just to get to know you a little bit, to find out whether or not you may be the right kind of person to build a relationship with in the first place, can go so far, because in 2, 3, 4 months or however much time, then you can actually pick up the phone and do warm or hot phone calls when you need the money, instead of, okay guys, we're all ready to go, who do we call first? And now you're looking around. So warm relationships, do it as soon as possible, ask for their confidence, don't expect an NDA to be signed though.
Yeah, I think you want to have a relationship with their fans of what you're trying to accomplish, and then not only will it be warm, but if you're really on top of your game, you'll be communicating to them throughout the process. So your main ask when you meet somebody early on like that is to say, hey, are you interested enough for me to keep you informed about what I'm doing?
Beautiful.
And then send them an update once every week or 2 weeks. Hey, we had these 3 great meetings this week, or I learned this, or we built our first prototype. Because if I'm an angel investor and I get a series of communications from you over, let's say, a 6 or 8 week period, and then you pick up the phone and call me, I know that you found me valuable enough to want to keep me updated. But if you go cold for 6 months and then you pick up the phone and say, hey, remember Scott, I ran into you at that demo thing over at 1776 in DC, or at the Entrepreneur Center down in Nashville, Tennessee. Remember we had that conversation? I don't remember. Especially I'm an angel investor. I've had 500 pitches since I last saw you. Okay, probably for 3 ideas that are similar to yours. But if you've kept me informed, which, by the way, it's shocking to me how many entrepreneurs don't do that basic follow-up stuff. It's 99 out of 100. Just don't be that. Be the 1 or 2 that do it. Caitlin, we have time for one more?
We've actually got 2 more entrepreneurs lined up. It looks like. You guys ready for the next pitch?
Let's do it.
All right. So we've got Arash here.
Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Scott. Hi, Nathan.
Hello.
Hey, Arash.
Hi. You want to just do a brief intro and then you can get right into your pitch?
Sure. My name is Arash. I'm co-founder of 10 Stamps. That's our logo. And I've been moved from Munich, Germany, just recently last week to the Bay Area to start our US operations.
Welcome.
So, all right. Thank you. So let me tell you what we're doing. I had a friend, Hubert, from Munich, who opened a coffee shop, and he wanted to add a retail business to it, to sell coffee beans, etc. And he wanted to do marketing, and he was thinking around to do like radio advertising or other advertising, and he ended up doing flyers because that's the cheapest and the only thing he could do. Our other friend, Franz, opened up a retail business right away on eBay and Amazon. And once he went on, he did marketing. He had great marketing tools just using the data he's generating on the site. So we thought, why can't you generate that data in the local shop? And around that, we built a loyalty program. So our loyalty program is called 10 Stamps. It has been launched in Munich, runs about 3,000 local businesses right now, and about 200,000 registered users. It's been used in more than 10 countries, and we want to get the foot on the ground here and are looking for backers.
29:24. So you ran over just a few seconds there. Okay. All right. Scott, you want to go first?
Yeah, I like this as a great example. So first off, I like the story. I think, and I'm assuming that English is not your first language, so good for you for being able to articulate it as clearly as you did. What I like about this example is that you've got an established business in another country, and you're trying to establish a foothold here, and it's a very different kind of angel investor that that wants to engage in that kind of a process. And I think what you're going to find in the Bay Area in particular is that you may have a difficult time because the culture there is more of a pure startup culture as opposed to an expansion one. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. In terms of your storyline, because it's an existing business, I think you need to get to, and it's going to sound counter to my other examples, you need to get to some of the business stuff much more quickly. So, I think the first part of your story about, hey, this is coffee shop owner, and yet a similar kind of business online would have all kinds of data and marketing tools that allow them. We wanted to bring those same kinds of tools to the Main Street business or the physical location business. And then you need to get into some of the really key metrics here. Hey, this is a business where, we can open this business here and help small businesses. We need $250,000 to open or whatever it is. Like, get real concrete real fast, because the kind of angel investor that you're looking for is someone who wants to put money to work and is likely interested in an income generating opportunity as opposed to a pure startup kind of equity play. Because my guess is that there's a lot of equity that's already been invested, and what you're really looking for is someone who's going to invest for your expansion, and there's going to be a different kind of economic relationship, I would suspect.
Yeah, thanks. That's interesting. Yeah.
So I have two things to add to that. One, I think the word loyalty programs is tired, and there's been a lot of people doing loyalty programs over the years. So one of the things that I would love to see in your presentation is, there's an 800, what do they call it? The elephant in the room. It's like, oh no, not another loyalty program. So help us understand, when in that minute, what's really unique and different here, and why are these 3,000 businesses and 200,000 people really using it? Why? Because that will help us understand why you're being successful in 10 countries and others are just being a little bit successful in their own local markets or whatever it happens to be. So great story. And for all of you listening, I want to point out, I don't know if Arash understood what he did with the beginning of his storytelling, but it was beautiful. Beautiful from the standpoint that what he did is he did what, I don't know if I made up this term, but I call it bookend storytelling. So he did the bookend by telling one story of somebody who's offline, and then he did the other bookend, which is somebody online, and he drew the comparison and then segued directly into what he does, which is a beautiful way to help people understand what you do, what the problem is when the problem is big, and when it really encompasses a lot of people. So when it encompasses a lot of people or a lot of markets, rather than just trying to dive into one vertical, you can use this bookending storytelling technique and say, yes, we do people from 5 to 10 years old all the way up to 79 to 85-year-olds and everybody in between, or however you want to say it. But you get that idea of the bookending? It's a great technique. Arash, well done. Good storytelling.
Thank you. Excellent.
All right,
And
we've got time for one more entrepreneur, it looks like. We'll bring him on. It's Mark. Hi, Mark.
We don't have sound on Mark.
Oh, it looks like we're having some sound trouble. Hold on a second, we'll see if we can get him back up. All right, well, while we're waiting, it looks like we'll take another written-in question. We've got Elena asking, what's the ideal size for a pitch deck? How many slides? And should you make it visually interesting or just crisp and simple? What do you guys think?
I'll go if you want, Scott. Go ahead, you go, Scott.
So I subscribe to, oh gosh, his name is escaping me here. Nathan, you'll remember for me. 10, 20, 30.
Oh, Guy Kawasaki.
Guy Kawasaki's. Thank you. So I think if you can manage it, you should try to manage to 10 slides, 20 minutes if you have that much time, if you're really digging in. And I'm assuming when you say a pitch deck, you're with a person and you've got a one-on-one meeting or a small group meeting for, say, 30 minutes. So 10, 20, and the 30 is no font size smaller than 30 points. And I'm a big fan of of a lot more visual and a lot less text. So if you've got pictures to show or diagrams that illustrate what you're doing, I think of the slides as the illustration of your words. People respond to you as a person, individual. We're face recognizers, and Nathan can talk a little bit. And I'm going to prompt Nathan. I'd love you to describe the fact that the percentage of the words that people listen to versus your facial expressions and your enthusiasm,
Sure.
Because it's shocking how little they pay attention to the actual words you're saying and how much they pay attention. So I like visuals that illustrate because they don't distract from my facial representation, because we immediately recognize patterns. And so if we see a really great visual, we'll store it very, very quickly as people, and we'll continue to engage with you as the person. So those are kind of Guy Kawasaki's 10, 20, 30 is how I try to manage to those when I'm thinking about an in-person meeting like that, when you have the opportunity to bring a presentation with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. And I couldn't agree more with that. Definitely more visual. I recommend actually having 2 decks. You have your deck, which most of you probably have right now, which have lots of words, 12-point font, 20-point font, really small text, dense slides. That's what I call your detail deck. That's what you send to somebody afterwards when they want to have more detail. But the deck that you use up in front of people should primarily look exactly like Steve Jobs' deck. Simple as that. 1 word, 2 word, 3 words, or lots of pictures. The point of a picture doesn't have to be literal. It can be a metaphorical picture that lets the audience's right side of their brain start thinking about maybe a vacation while they're listening to the vibrations of your voice talk about how much better their lives are going to be by using your software. And to Scott's point about when you're speaking to people and showing them slides or communicating to people in general, there's a startling fact that, or statistics that came from Dr. Albert Mehrabian out of UCLA in the mid-60s. It still very, very much pertains to today's communications. Not much has changed, especially in human nature. So when you're presenting or communicating to someone, if you take the pie of communication, 100% of that message that people are getting from you, a very small percentage of it comes from your words. And since I don't have a lot of interaction capability with you, I'll just tell you right now, the study came out to say that the words make up only 7% of the message that people get from you as a communicator. That doesn't mean words are not important. It just means that a small part of the message, the total message that we get from you as a communicator, comes from the words. 38% of that message comes from your voice. And 55% of the message that people actually get from you as a presenter is coming right off of this thing, your face. How you use your eyes, how you squint, how you use your voice, the tone of your voice, the volume, the speed, and all of that together makes up the total message. And if only a small portion of that message are actually the words that you're using, maybe it's time that you record yourself both in audio and video and play it back and see what kind of message is coming off your face. My favorite exercise to do for my clients is to take 1 minute of recorded video of them doing a real live presentation. I take off the audio and I put it out to about 100 Amazon Mechanical Turks who don't know the person, and I say, watch this 1 minute video and then tell me, what message are you getting from this person? And invariably, the majority of the people nail it. They say, oh, the person's upset, they're not happy, they're scared, they don't know their message, they're not committed to the message. It's amazing how much information comes off your face combined with your voice. So be very careful and make sure that you rehearse yourself from the standpoint of listening to how you sound and get feedback from it, because it could mean the difference between somebody wanting to go to that next meeting or not. I think we went a little long on that, sorry.
No, that was great, and it looks like we're having some tech issues with our last entrepreneur. So I'll just ask you guys to leave us with some of your remaining tips on pitching, and then we'll wrap it up. Scott, do you want to go first?
Sure. Look, I think that first, thanks to everybody for participating with us, because it is hard to come on and give a pitch, and it's a weird setup here because we're virtual instead of in the room. So, but it's instructive. Look, I think the biggest thing for me when you're particularly engaging with an angel investor is really understand what they're about and try to be as relatable to them as possible. So that's why when I think about being prepared, it's prepared to figure out how to take your storyline and the things that you do and be able to engage them on terms that are relatable to them. I think one of the mistakes is that entrepreneurs make is we make it too much about us, our product, the problem we're trying to solve, and we don't find smart ways to make it relatable to that angel investor on terms that are about them. And so the more you can do that, it's a basic marketing technique or a sales technique, but it's really about taking what you have and what they have and combining into something, and particularly an angel investor, that's part of that partnership that you're creating together.
Sounds good. Nathan?
Sure. Two things. One is I didn't actually answer the last question of how many slides should you have in a deck. And after 7 years of working with people, in the first 3 years, I had a number. I had a rule of thumb. And then I met CEO of .cloud, and he said, Nathan, I have 44 slides, 5 minutes. I said, yeah, right. And literally, I sat down and given the benefit of the doubt, in 4 minutes, 58 seconds, he was done. But 42 of those slides were pictures, and 2 of them had 1 or 2 words on them. And he was able to get through them, and it wasn't too fast. So once that happened to me, I stopped giving out a rule of thumb. It's like, how many do you need? Usually it's more than you need, but how many do you really need? And the way to start is start with just 1 slide. See if you can do the entire meeting with 1 slide. Or no slides for that matter. Anyway, so Scott's right. There are some companies that have a formula, 10 slides, like at the Garage Technology Ventures where Guy Kawasaki works. If you go to pitch to them, you better have a 10-slide deck and all 30-point fonts, or you're dead. If you go to Sequoia Capital, they have a blog post where there's a 10-slide deck as well. Most others give you flexibility on doing what you want. So I'd like to conclude by just going off one more time on this whole storytelling. It's the most important thing. And don't for a minute think that you have to run to the store and buy books to learn how to tell stories. You don't. The point I just want to make is being authentic, being real, and being honest. You don't have to learn how to tell your story. You just have to figure out a way to tell it so that it connects together and it resonates with the mind of your listener. So spend time on your story, go back to the why you're doing your business, and that will help you crystallize the real emotional reason why you're doing your business. And once you know that, then you can start directing your comments and your communications to angel investors, customers, or others using that main core message of why you're doing what you're doing. And thank you for having me today.
Thanks for joining us, Scott and Nathan. It's been really great. And if you want to watch this Spreecast later on, you can check it out at the Accelerators blog, or stay tuned, and we'll have some Spreecasts coming up in the future. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.